Once many years ago, I was treating a case of sensory neuropathy with small fiber arthropathy. This was post tubercular treatment which she had received. And you know what she came to me with? Not able to walk properly. Her husband was a medical practitioner, of course, a practitioner of modern medicine, and he had already taken most of the medicines, right from steroids to gabapentins and other medicines indicated. But this pain, the neuropathy, the small arthropathy was not going. When she came to me, she could hardly walk. She was held when she was walking because as soon as she would put a foot on the ground, she used to tremble and lose her balance. I took her case very much in detail and I found that this neuropathy had developed after she had an episode of tuberculosis. She was treated with anti-tubercular medicines, and after she developed this complete resolution of the tubercular pathology, she went into this neuropathy where she couldn't stand. They tried to give her a lot of medicines. Finally, she did not recover and she was bedridden. And she was brought to me with somebody holding her. I took her case completely, and a very nice polycrest constitutional remedy came to me as a remedy. Of course, I'm going to tell you about it. There was an interesting modality in the case that the pain used to be very severe when she used to flex the legs in the abdomen. And this flexing of legs used to be for more than half an hour, and then the pain all along the soles used to feel better. This was very absurd. But this was one of the very interesting modality of this patient, and that helped in the constitutional remedy. When I was trying to understand her, there was an interesting story behind this. And the story was that this husband of hers was a medical practitioner, a homeopath. But he did not want to practice homeopathy because he wanted to establish very early in his practice, and he had resorted to practice modern medicine. He was all round topper in his class and was a so-called a good child of his mother. He was terribly in love with his mother and always wanted that whoever he marries, whoever his future wife is, should not have any rift with her mother-in-law, means his mother. And so he did not want to get married to a girl who was very educated, somebody who had a mind of her own. He wanted to get married to a girl who would listen to him, listen to his mother, and would have very common, formal life in his future. So what he decides is that he gets married to a very normally educated girl who was not very career minded, one who would be very mild, gentle, would listen to anybody and would abide by what they say, and decides to marry this girl. But you know how things are. There was a different future awaiting him. From the day he got married, the typical mother-in-law, daughter-in-law syndrome started. We all know what the whole thing is all about. The mother-in-law was imposing things on her, and this lady did not want to take anything. She kept on retaliating, and the things happened so much that she decides to go back. Now this man was in love with his wife also and couldn't leave his mother also. So he makes a kind of arrangement, and this arrangement is such that his wife stays somewhere near his clinic and he stays at his home. But this is a time when he already has one son. So the whole day he used to spend with his wife near the clinic, and at nights he used to stay with his mother, trying to make both of them happy. This wife of his, who is our patient now, was very scared of the mother-in-law because she had been extremely dominating and troublesome during her small stint in her in-law's life. They used to abuse her, they used to shout at her, they used to be very dominating to her, insulting her. So the very sight of the mother-in-law used to make her tremble in fear. Even if she could see the mother-in-law at a distance, she would be scared. I asked her during the case taking, how does she feel when you see something like this happening? She says, I used to be very angry on her. I couldn't express because this husband of mine, he was a typical son and did not like me retaliating. I had to only suppress whatever I felt. I used to be really angry, but I never expressed myself. The only thing that used to happen when I see her was sheer trembling. My hands would tremble, my legs would tremble. And this persisted for many years. So I asked her about many stressful situations, and she gave me a typical ranunculus sensation of trembling and the vexation, nerves, the so many insults. And the remedy obviously was Staphysagrine. So after giving Staphysagrine, the patient recovered. In fact, on the 15th day itself, the patient started walking. She left her support within a month. The neuritis disappeared. Now, this was the disappearance of the symptoms. But what do we do with the state which she is carrying? The fear, that did not go. Because next time she would see the mother-in-law, she would be the same. So we decided to have a chat with her and we could see if there can be any transformation in her. So at the end of the consultation, I told her, what are you going to do when you go home now? She said, obviously, I'm going to go and stay. Let's see what the mother-in-law has for me. So I told her, you can obviously say anything and everything, but do it the way I tell you. Maybe that will help you. And since she had recovered, she goes to the mother-in-law's house and she exactly says what I had told her. Now things are slightly at ease. She starts visiting her often, and by the end of a month or so, she comes to me and said, I have shifted back. I said, where? I have shifted back to my in-laws' place. I said, how come? I said, it's not possible. You are staying away from her for maybe more than 15 years. She said, yes. But after you told me, things have been different with me and her. I said, what happened? No longer now she can dominate me. I said, but she is the same. Yes, she is the same. But I have changed. Since the time you told me that let her be the way she is, I am allowing her to be. But I listen everything what she says and do not do it. I tell her every time that if I am doing it just because you are my mother-in-law, but this is against my wish. Given a choice, I wouldn't have done it, but this makes my husband happy, so I am doing it. Next time I may not, and she gets the message. So every time I say this, she is changing because she is now understanding that this is not my area to pervade, and she has now created a boundary around me where she doesn't enter that, and I have my own space. The space which I had lost in the house, I have gained it. No longer she can come and dominate me, neither do I dominate her, but I tell her that this is your space, be happy in yours and I am happy in mine. This came to her with the awareness that she needs to tell her that this is something which I can't take. Now the same insults do not affect her. She can understand these insults come from the mother's agony of losing her child and her own constitution. But now she can rationalize all that thing that she sees and now is living happily with her husband again. Obviously, her complaints disappeared. But since the delusion is gone, the chances of her falling sick are now bare minimal. It's now 5 years down the line that we have seen her. She doesn't suffer from any of those problems again. This is transformation. This can happen only after the case is over. You give them the right awareness to free them of the point at which they are stuck. Do it in your practice, and we will always await your ideas and your views and your experiences. Write to us.